Let's dive into Rusty's training so we can stay consistent at home. Whenever he's doing behaviors that we want to keep seeing, whether that's laying down or he's just showing us calm behaviors, we want to reinforce and reward those with either praise, petting, or treats. Then whenever he's doing things that we don't want to see, whether that's nipping at us, jumping up on us, or not following our commands, we're going to follow through with our training equipment so we can decrease and discourage those unwanted behaviors. So let's go over Rusty's training equipment. I know we've already gone over the prong collar in his classes, but how we take this on and off is we're going to slide the plastic piece over, push down on the little gray piece, and pull apart. How we put it back on is we want to make sure that when we put this back on, that we slide the gray piece over so that he can't accidentally click it off. And then we're going to want this part at the top of Rusty's neck. And then the leash is going to attach to the D-ring that swivels. So the only time he's going to be wearing this whenever he is on a leash. How we use this, say he is in the heel position. Heel just means walk next to me on that nice loose leash. Say he starts to pull ahead or he does something we don't want to see. We're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior we don't want to see, pop of the leash, and then remind him the command that we are doing. So no, pop, heel. Then of course when he gets back to where we want him, we're going to give him that verbal praise and pets and treats to reinforce and reward the behavior we want to keep seeing. Now let's go over his remote collar, how we turn this on and off. Red dots on the collar and remote. Touch these together. This is going to turn on the collar, so that green light flashing means it's on, charged, and ready to go. On and off button on the back of the remote. We're going to push and hold until the screen lights up. We're going to see a little 15 appear on the screen. This is Rusty's working level. And then today we're going to focus on the black S button. How we use this is say he's in the heel position. Heel is that nice loose leash walking. Say he starts to pull ahead, does something we don't want to see. We're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior, black S button, heel. No, button, heel. Then of course when he gets back, we're going to give him that verbal praise, petting or treats to reinforce and reward the behavior we want to keep seeing. Depending on the level of distraction that we have with Rusty, we may use one of these, we may use both of these. It just depends on the situation that we are in. With the prong collar, he's going to wear it whenever he's on a leash. So in the house, we may have the leash and prong on in the house just to introduce some new commands and some new boundaries, and then we can fade away from needing it on in the house. With the remote collar, we're going to put this on first thing in the morning, and it's going to be the last thing that we take off at night, so we always have a form of communication with Rusty throughout the day. So that is all of his training equipment. Now let's go over his commands. We've already kind of gone over the heel. Heel is that nice loose leash walking on the left side. 80 to 90% of walks should be in the heel position. The other 10 to 20%, we can give him that release word free. Free means he's not in any set command. That's going to be his time to do his business, go wander and sniff and do his own thing. Now we have sit. Sit means stay is implied until he's given the release word free. This is really good for those door manners, so he can't just bolt through doors. So whether we're on the inside or the outside, we're going to have Rusty sit. Sit means stay is implied, so as we're opening the door, we can remind Rusty to sit. And if he stays, great. If not, we're going to follow through with the training equipment, so that way we can set the same boundaries that are here at the facility at the home, so that way he isn't bolting through doors. And then once he sits and stays, great. We have two options. We can either free him through the door or we can heel through the door with him. Just depends on the situation that we are in. Now we have down. Down also means stay as implied. With down, we're never going to release him from a distance. So we're never going to put him in a down and then walk 10 feet away and then call him to us, because then he's going to get rewarded for coming to us and not staying in that down stay. So whenever we're practicing the down, say we do a little bit of a distraction, we're always going to go back to where Rusty is at and release him from there. Then when we're rewarding down, we want to do it as low to the ground as possible. So when he's in the down, he knows where that positive zone is. Now we have place. Place is the boundary stay, ideally on an elevated bed. With this one, when you first introduce it, I would practice it on a leash in the house, so that way if we need to guide him back to the place bed, we can. And when you first have big distractions over, I would definitely have the leash on so we can communicate with him and guide him back to the bed if we need to. When you're practicing this one as well, we also aren't going to release him from a distance, because then he'll get rewarded for coming to us and not staying in his place stay. So say we have company come over, or we do a little distraction, or we're cooking dinner, we're always going to go back to Rusty and release him from where he is. And then when we reward this one, the reward goes on the place bed so he knows where that positive zone is. Now we have come when called. When we're practicing this one, we like to give him that release word free. Let him get distracted doing his own thing, because ideally when we need him to come back to us, it's going to be whenever he is off doing his own thing, sniffing and getting distracted. So we'll let him be free. And then when we want to call him to us, we're going to say come in a loud, firm tone. We're going to praise him as he's coming to us. When he gets into our space, we're going to have him sit, and then we're going to give him the reward. When we're practicing this, you want to have a 30 to 50 foot leash on him so that way if he does get extra distracted sniffing something, we have a way to communicate with him to reel him back into our space if we need to. Say we call him and he ignores us. We're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior, not coming to us, follow through with the training equipment, and then we're going to call him again and we're going to go right back into that praising, and when he gets into our space, we are still going to reward him. This command is very important, so we are always going to be the positive even if he makes a mistake out there. So this one we are always going to reward. Now we have leave it. Leave it just means don't grab that. So start out with dog safe foods, toss something on the ground, say leave it. If he does, great. If not, we're going to guide him into a different scenario and try it again. With this, I would suggest having a leash on in the house when you first practice this, so that way we can guide him into different scenarios. And then you can slowly progress to where you don't need the leash and prong on. That is all of Rusty's commands. So we want to reinforce and reward behaviors we want to keep seeing, whether that's those calm behaviors or just following our commands. And then with those behaviors that we don't want to see, the mouthiness, the nipping, the jumping, we can follow through with our training equipment so we can decrease and discourage those unwanted behaviors that we don't want to see. That is all of his equipment and his commands. So we're going to watch Rusty do all of his commands and we're going to have fun, stay consistent, and here he is.
Heel.
Heel. Sit. Other door. Heel. $40.79. Sit. Sit. Nope. Sit. 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 Heel. 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 Good boy. Heel. 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 Good boy. Heel. Sit. Down. Good boy. Good down. Down. Good down. Down. Good down, Rusty. Down. Good down. Boy. Good down. Good. Free. Good boy, Rusty. Let's dive into the other features of the remote. So we've already gone over how to turn it on. Now let's go over how to turn it off. Same concept. These red dots, we physically have to touch these together to turn the collar off. That red light means the collar is off. This is so when Rusty is wearing it, he can't accidentally turn it off. On and off button on the back of the remote, we push and hold until the screen goes blank. So they turn on off and on separately, so that way he can't accidentally turn one or the other off. Now we've gone over the black S button in the beginning of the video. That is going to be the number that you see on the screen. This red S button is a boost feature. So whatever number you see on the screen, it is going to jump it 20 levels. So now it's on 35. This is a boost feature that we can use whenever Rusty is doing something dangerous that is going to cause him harm, whether it's running after a car or chasing after an animal and we can't get his attention. We can use this to grab his attention because level 15 reaches about here when not much is going on. But when he is excited chasing something, he is up here. So now we have a way to communicate with him in a very quick way when he's doing something dangerous. So the red S is for emergency cases. On the other side, we have a T button. This is a vibrate feature. We like to use this to make sure that the collar is on, charged, and ready to go. And when he gets further into the training, you can use it as like a little bit of a warning whenever he's about to cross a boundary and we would just want to let him know, hey, you need to knock it off. But that's whenever he gets further into his training. On and off button also works as a flashlight feature. So if you let him out at night and you just want to be able to see where he's at, we can push it once. It's going to be a flashing light. Push it that second time, it's a solid flashlight. That third time, it's going to turn it off. On the back, there's also an M/C button. In the beginning of Rusty's training, we started out at continuous, which is what the C stands for, at a very low level to introduce the remote in a very positive way. And then we switched it over to momentary, which is the M, at a little bit of a higher level. And now he should stay on momentary the rest of his training. Say level of 15 you notice isn't working for Rusty. That's okay. We can always change it. We're going to hold down on this dial until you see that 1D at the top of the screen flashing. And then we can rotate it to whatever number we think is going to work for Rusty. Right now, level 15 is working, so I'm going to lock that in place so that way when we put it in our pocket, we don't accidentally change it. So I changed it back to 15. I'm going to hold down on the dial. And then once the number stopped flashing, we know that it is locked, so we can't accidentally change it while it is in our pocket. Both the collar and the remote are rechargeable. Charging port on the remote is right underneath the on and off button. The one on the collar is right in between the prongs. It should last for about 2 days if he wears it for about 12 to 14 hour days. So if you charge it every other day, you should be fine. It does come with a dual charger as well, so you can charge them at the same time. Rusty does have a little bit of a shorter haircut, but if you notice that his prongs aren't making good contact, if he gets a little bit of longer hair, you can absolutely switch him over. But right now, the shorter prongs have been making great contact, and he shouldn't really need to upgrade to the larger ones. At the bottom of the box, we have a manual, so if you have any other questions or anything else about the remote, you can absolutely go over it with the manual. It also comes with a 2-year warranty, so if you have any problems with the remote or collar, you can contact the company and hopefully get a new one sent over or get it figured out. It's on the back of the box. You can get in contact with them and get something sorted out. Both the remote and collar are waterproof, so if it gets wet, not too big of a deal. If he's going to stay wet for an extended period of time, I would rotate the collar so that way it doesn't irritate one part of his neck too much. That is all of the other features of the remote, so we're going to have fun, stay consistent, and that's everything.